Good evening, and welcome back to the weird and the wonderful with Strange Bones. That's me. Well, I hope everybody has a suitable cup of coffee and is ready to take on another interesting, slightly weird, but possibly not as wonderful as you might think concept. And it's one which has been requested by our followers, and one which actually is a lot deeper than you might think, which I think is going to be a good one. So as we get set up and get going, I hope you're all having a wonderful evening and are ready for a certain amount of discussion. How are you doing? I hope you are having a wonderful evening. We're going to let a couple more people join on, and hopefully we will be joined by the people that actually requested this particular live, and I think it's going to be a good one. And yeah, we are flying at speed into the future. Can you believe it's already 2026? One of my all-time favorite novels out there, which I've always particularly enjoyed, is one that was written as a science fiction, a futuristic science fiction, which by and large actually has come true. And it was written by a genuine scientist. Back in the day, many science fiction stories were based on real ideas and things, and it has pretty much come entirely true in every possible manner and form. And it was set in what was considered to be the far future. And of course that was in the title of the book, which was 1984. Which is ironic, because of course not only are we way past that, but along with that, we find that everything that was supposedly impossible or wouldn't really happen has entirely happened and has become in fact a major problem in the modern world. So yeah, if you've never read 1984, get on out there and give it a read while you're still alive and while you're still allowed. It's an interesting situation, if not a slightly terrifying one. Lizzie, how are you doing? I hope you're in fine form there. So we're looking at the future. What might be and how might it be? And we're going to begin by having a look at a rather good movie that has in fact in many ways almost become a modern meme in a lot of ways, which might amuse you. Can I use this for a red carpet? I suppose you can. How would you like to use it as a red carpet? I don't know if you're Tato or Tato, but welcome, welcome nevertheless. As we get going though, I am going to remind everybody that on this channel we have just one rule, and it is a very important rule, and that is don't be rude. You can agree, you can disagree, you can say all that you like, but you have to be polite, because we have had far too many trolls. Hey there, Spooky, are you in fine form?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, you're in time. We have just gotten going, and I've just been explaining to people that the channel works according to you guys. So like, share, subscribe, do all of the good things, and all of the things that support the channel. I apparently rely, Tato, of Billie Eilish. Okay. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I hope it's a good thing. I'd like it to be a good thing. How do I remind you of, I don't know, Spooky, do I remind you of Billie Eilish?
I don't know who that is.
The singer. A female singer of all people as well. So I don't know why I remind, but nevertheless, welcome, thank you for the likes. Glad you've enjoyed. So we're talking futuristic cities. And along with that, we are going to begin with a movie, which I really did enjoy, from 1993, which for me was not that long ago. And it was called Ghost in the Machine, which was a really interesting and rather cool sci-fi movie where the consciousness of a psychotic serial killer gets uploaded into a hospital's mainframe computer during a lightning storm while he is having an MRI, and it allows him to possess technology and continue his murderous spree electronically, targeting varying people. And he acquires the address book of a mother and her son and uses that. And this has gone on, of course, to become a meme in the, not the Barbie movie, I'm glad to say. So he basically goes through this address book and starts knocking people off in that way. So he's in a car accident, which gets him into hospital and into the MRI machine. There's a lightning strike that causes a power surge, and he becomes part of the computer. So now he's kind of like a digital ghost, and he uses network devices, phones, microwave computers, to terrorize and kill his victims, and so on. Now, the woman's son is very tech savvy, and they're aided by a former hacker who must somehow fight back against the disembodied killer controlling all of the technology. Now, the reason I raise this movie and the reason it's cool is, in a great many ways, AI technology is the ghost in the machine. And if it were to go bad, what might it mean? Because the idea of the film, of course, was to explore the idea of human consciousness within a machine like AI. And today's interesting topic is futuristic cities, which in the modern day very much means AI-controlled cities. So if you get a chance, go and have a go with it, because it's a great movie, if nothing else. And it's an interesting modern meme in a great many ways. So we have that going for us, which is pretty damn cool. Now, we got on to the topic from our last discussion, where one of the fellows on the live brought up Jacques Fresco. Now, he was a guy who was very much, shall we say, an engineer and such like, and he created something called the Venus Project, which was the idea of building a city that was self-sustaining. The idea is fantastic in and of itself. And the guy that did it, he was born in 1916, and he passed on in 2017. So he was 101 when he passed on. He was a futurist, a social engineer, a structural engineer, an architectural designer, an industrial designer, a lecturer, and an author. So quite a clever lad in that regard, which is great. Self-taught on a lot of things as well. And initially, of course, he was an industrial designer. That's what he did. And he developed views on sustainable cities, energy efficient cities, natural resource management, cybernetic technology, automation, and the role of science in society. By and large, he believed that any spooky woo-woo stuff like religion or anything like that was not something that had a place in the running of things. That was his opinion, not ours. I'm just throwing it out there. He was a Sephardi Jew, insofar as that matters, and grew up in the Brooklyn borough of New York City. His father came from Istanbul. Back in the day, of course, it was Constantinople. And his mother came from Jerusalem. And his sort of whole focus was the idea of a technocracy, a city run and organized through technology. He lived during the Great Depression, and obviously in this time there were a lot of people that suffered greatly, of course. Oh, okay, no problem. All good, sir. They used to sit with together with his friends discussing Darwin, Einstein, science, the future, and he attended the Young Communist League before being physically ejected for loudly stating that Karl Marx was wrong, which I imagine for the Young Communist League was a large no-no. He left home at the age of 14, jumping trains and hitchhiking, as one of the wild boys of the road. He got into the aircraft industry and he did all kinds of things, and designed even a flying saucer-like aircraft, believe it or not. Some of his designs were considered practical and were never used. But nevertheless, he served in the army, he served in the Air Force, he did all kinds of technical stuff, and eventually, because of all of this, he ended up working in society to design low-cost housing. And in fact, the guy he worked for invested $500,000, which at the time was a huge amount, into a project in Fresno. And at the age of 32, along with his associates, Fresco conceived, designed, and engineered a project house called the Trend Home. Now, this really was his big success. It was built mostly from aluminum and glass. It was an amazing display in a great many ways as well. And you could tour the home and see what it was all about. And they basically went further with the idea of this until eventually Fresco developed what would become the Venus Project. Now, weirdly enough and interestingly enough, and huge thanks to Endless Thoughts for the likes and welcome to the live, always good to have you. Basically, the idea was based on Plato's description of Atlantis, believe it or not, which was pretty cool. The idea of a circular ring of parts to a city that was entirely self-sustaining and could in fact be the city of the future. He was a very interesting fellow because he would test his theories practically. So he wanted to see how people could be changed as well, and in fact joined several white supremacist organizations, including the Ku Klux Klan, in order to see if he could change their views about racial discrimination, which, well, that was pretty brave, if nothing else. I don't know how wise it was, but it was brave. He was clearly a forward thinker. Now, he worked on the famous Sandwich House, which was a very cheap prefabricated style of house, developed his own company to push his ideas forwards, and using cyberneering, which he made into a membership organization, in order to push these ideas forwards and create all sorts of things. He even was presented, believe it or not, on the Larry King show, apparently, though maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But this ended up with a project called the Venus Project, which is called so because it was developed in Venus in Florida. There's a place in Florida called Venus, believe it or not. I did not know this, but there you are. Now, this was founded in 1985, and...
No, but it's still a concept.
Oh,
There's
yes.
not many people living there or living the way they want it to.
It is not a complete, but there are people living in it. And the fact that it has lasted is quite interesting. And the focus of this is that the people within it are taught not to that success is monetary, but rather that ideas and innovation are success. So they're sort of trained to think differently. He was a bit of a nut in certain ways, but he was a clever nut, and certainly successful in a number of what he says. Now, the aims of the Venus Project have no parallel in history, not with communism, socialism, fascism, or any kind of political ideology, because cybernation is new, and that's very true. A system wherein finance, either in influence or control, will no longer exist. So within the Venus Project, there's no money. You don't earn. You get what you need. And it works on a sort of a merit system by you innovating and building and making things more. Now, it is not utopian, according to them, but the idea is not to create utopia, but the idea of creating a suitable lifestyle where you can achieve self-sustained good living. And a good place is literally the aim, which is not a bad idea, I think. We know that his ideas certainly were of great interest from a number of science fiction writers. Even the animator for Star Trek worked with Fresco to produce computer renderings of his designs. So he had influence, and he got a number of awards for the Venus project. So how does it work? Well, it is, according to the idea, a system of circles within circles, going further and further out, with layers of workplaces and society and residential areas, whereby the center is run through, I suppose, technology. It is a non-profit organization designing human habitats that enhance human well-being and remaining fit to the carrying capacity of Earth and local ecosystems, accommodating multiple resource scenarios and resilient to any catastrophic event. It's a great idea, but does it work? Well, it's been going 22 years and is still going, which is pretty good. You can't argue with that. It has a philosophy emphasizing connection, integration, prioritizing balance. Now, of course, in our last live talking about culture, and the one before it talking about religion. Hey there, Sticks. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're in good form. We discovered that balance is very, very important. So maybe he was onto something here. Okay, so philosophy of balance, a set of values and objectives that outline the conditions of success for sustainable civilization. What are the great highlights of this kind of thing? Well, the idea is to create cities that evolve with people and to help people evolve intellectually. It's very much an intellectual thing more than anything else. It doesn't hold interest in spirituality in that regard, which is kind of interesting. The fact that even after his death, there is the collective still running it. It's gone on. It has a board of directors and multiple teams that evolve the designs and so on to deal with the emerging changes in the earth. Since 2008, it's presented a leading vision of sustainability. So economic alternatives to the current living. Now, how good an idea is this? You get what you need, but you're expected to work to the good of the community. How well do people in general respond to that? I suppose it's very arguable. It's certainly interesting. The buildings are very futuristic and dome-like and very space-agey. I mean, I don't know how many of you are into cartoons, but if you've seen the Jetsons, you would absolutely recognize a number of these things as, yeah, I've seen that before in cartoons. Well, they're in real life. And it works on an integration of sociological concepts with cybernetics, robotics, and nowadays AI. But is this a good thing? Is this a safe thing? Where is this going? Well, we need to look at, first of all, what are futuristic cities and what is their aim? Now, there are a number that actually do exist, as it turns out, and I have a list of 19, 20, 24 that apparently are in existence and they are testing out, which is quite a lot if you think about it. They are urban designs focused on, in exactly the same way as the Venus Project, sustainability, technology, automation, IoT, quality of life, vertical forests. So the Smart Forest City in Mexico, the very good idea of that. Self-sufficient floating structures like the Oceanics one in Busan. High-tech integrated systems like Songdo in South Korea. And radical new models like Saudi Arabia's Linear City, aiming to solve modern urban challenges with green tech, smart infrastructure, and community-centric planning for future populations. So what are the key characteristics of a smart city? First of all, it needs to be sustainable and have green tech. So nature is integrated with urban spaces, with renewable energy, efficient waste management, and so on. In Songdo, for example, waste is removed by pneumatic tubes. So beat that. Is that a good idea? Well, in part I can see yes, but don't forget, of course, that which is removed must go somewhere. So we have that. So when we get through the initial part of this, I want to hear your views on this and questions. So smart technology is the thing. So the Internet of Things, or IoT, I'm not entirely sure what that is. Data-driven management for traffic, utilities, citizen services, innovative designs that allow you to do all the things you need to in places and ways that perhaps might otherwise not be able to sustain the number of people in an ordinary fashion, if that makes sense. Community focus, so designed for walkability, so less need for transport, inclusivity, high quality of life, and often shared governance or ownership models, which is interesting. So we have a number to talk about, and the first one is going to be quite an interesting one indeed, but before we get into the specifics thereof, quick sort of shared viewpoint, if you will. Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a necessary idea? And do you think it will work? What do you think?
If you're asking me, can you maybe just repeat the question?
In concept, at least, are futuristic cities the way to go?
At the moment, there's still lots of problems to solve.
Yes, I
So
would
I
absolutely
can't
agree.
imagine it at the moment. All I see is problems with it. I mean, how do you defend yourself against hostile people?
Fair point, fair point. There is that. I don't know. One almost assumes in a great way that maybe there would be some kind of automatic defenses. I don't know. When you put it like that, I really don't know. That's a good point. Styx has been on holiday, lucky personage. So, okay, let's look at a couple of examples. So, one of them, which is very interesting, is still in the process of being set up, which is in Tulsa in the US. The idea is to create a city with a target population of 5 million people by 2050 that can work and live in a closed environment. It's the brainchild of Mark Law, a billionaire.
Work. You said work.
Oh, yes. It does seem that work is part of it. We have The Line in Saudi Arabia, a smart city in Neom, in the Tabuk province, Saudi Arabia, a single long building, a linear settlement designed to have no cars, no streets, no carbon emissions. It was the brainchild of the Saudi ruler, Mohammed bin Salman, and he is the chairman of the project, which is an interesting concept, the idea of no travel or anything. There is the Chengdu Future City in China, a master plan for a car-free city to be the capital of the Sichuan province. The city is still in development. There seems to be a trend in that regard. We also have the...
Is it all the same?
Sorry?
Is it all the same?
No, these are separate cities around the world. There's a number of them that people are trying.
They're nothing like the Venus project.
Well, the Venus project is the one that seems to have been the most inexistent and is like the beginning brainchild to it all, if that makes sense.
It's a simulation of it.
At least of the concept, yes. You have the Smart Forest City, which is designed especially around the coexistence of nature and urban sort of ideas. You've got the Oceanics project in Busan, which is fascinating because it's entirely floating on the coast of Busan. So it's a water-based version, which again is a very interesting idea. And yeah, I could see a number of issues with that, obviously. I mean, if you got a tidal wave come through, I don't know how well it would manage with that, but we will look in more in depth at some of them. You've got the Amaravati, which is in India, in the Guntur district, on the bank of one of the rivers there, the Krishna River, and it's planned with intelligent traffic management, waste disposal, and water resource management systems. So absolutely, it's a good idea in principle. Now, the reason we're going through so many is just to show you how many countries are doing it. Now, in Singapore, which is fascinating as well, they have one which is an island city. So you've got the main island and 63 satellite islands, which is supposed to be one of the best. We're going to absolutely have to check it out a lot more. You've got the biodiversity, play on words there, from Malaysia, which again is a floating city working with nature. You've got the Masdar city in Abu Dhabi, which is, of course, the capital of the UAE, and it is supposed to be like really smart tech, the best of and. Is it? I don't know. We will check more. We've got the Songdo International Business District. Now, this was built on 600 hectares of reclaimed land along the waterfront in South Korea. That's the good side, in case you're wondering. Southwest of Seoul. Now, interesting, this is a business district. And it was made connected to the airport with a 12.3 kilometer reinforced concrete highway bridge. And it's supposed to be like the solution to the overcrowded and polluted business areas that have happened, if you will. So yeah, the idea of less pollution is great. In Tokyo, now, Tokyo, being in Japan, has two very interesting things. First of all, it's a very high-tech area and a very important linking area for all kinds of historical reasons. But we also know Japan has a serious lack in terms of available ground. This is a fact. We know this. So the ability to really make use of the space you have is a big deal. So Tokyo, the top business area in many ways, is a mix of the ultra-modern and traditional, with neon-lit skyscrapers and historic temples. And it's supposed to be an incredibly beautiful, but nevertheless absolutely cutting-edge scientific high-tech place. Is it? Well, we will have to have a think. Now, of course, Dubai naturally has kicked in on this, and they're working on one which is luxury shopping, nightlife, very tourist focused, with its 830-meter tall tower, ultra modern, a skyscraper-filled skyline, the place to visit, with artificial islands offshore, with the absolute perfect place to visit and relax. So Styx has been to Japan. Well, if you get a chance, go to Tokyo and let us know if it is all that. I'd love to hear a first-person view on it. You've got them in the...
With another tsunami yesterday.
Say again, you got a what yesterday?
Japan got hit with another tsunami yesterday.
Well, that will
Or
put
today.
a crimp in things.
Was yesterday or today?
It could have been either,
Things
but
are still coming up.
wow. That's pretty harsh. But it does show that, depending where you are in the world, it may be a very serious issue. Now, in the Maldives, you also have a floating city, and their interest is partly because the Indian Ocean is apparently rising. Slowly, but it is. And they say that the Maldives might not be habitable by 2050 because of rising sea levels caused by the alleged climate change. We're not going to get into that argument, but they are making plans. Very, very interesting. And it seems we have a number of directions that different people fancy going in. Now, we know as well, Amsterdam is the Netherlands capital, the artistic hub of Europe in a great many ways, and of course as well is kind of a bit of a one for water problems with all its canals. So they are also trying to have smart solutions with the housing and all the rest. Yeah, Sticks, you are actually a lot more correct than you might think. Now the next one, and I'm very sorry to say, this is going to fall apart because of current politics. London. They wanted to make this truly ancient city the most modern in the world, but I strongly suspect that they're going to fail horribly because they've screwed their politics up. So there's that. We know that there is one in Canada which is working already, which is very, very interesting, a very high-tech business district and all the rest. So theirs works. In Hong Kong, in China, they're working on a number of things, and one of theirs is already in action. It connects Kowloon with the mainland. It's got 7.5 million residents in 1,114 square kilometer territory, one of the most densely populated regions in the world. And so they are required to high-tech it, to manage everything. Only if we're lucky, Endless Thoughts. Things were better back then, I think. But that's my opinion. Los Angeles, they are trying as well. New York, Seoul, Barcelona, Helsinki, Oslo, they're all at it. And it seems that how they want to get into this is a varied thing. So Telosa was conceived by Mark Law in 2021. And the project has a target for 2050. The first phase of construction is expected to house 50,000 people. The location has not yet been chosen exactly where they're going to put it. They're debating putting it in the Appalachian Mountains or maybe in the American West Desert. It's derived from varying high-tech concepts, though interestingly the name Telosa comes from the ancient Greek word telos, meaning purpose, which maybe will give you an idea. Now, ironically and amusingly, it's probably a joke you need to be American to get. Mark Law, who's working on this, was the former US e-commerce president of Walmart. So it's a Walmart city. Make of that as you will. They want a reformed version of capitalism, an equilibrium with a new societal model where wealth is created in a fair way. So unlike the Venus Project, which says, no, there isn't wealth, these guys are saying, no, there will be wealth. It's the idea that people will have managed wealth. How that will work, I suppose, remains yet to be seen. Now, it's supposed to be what they refer to as a 15-minute city. So your work, school, basic goods and services are all within 15 minutes of where you live. Vehicles powered by fossil fuels will not be permitted. Walkability is emphasized but not exclusive, and the use of scooters, bicycles and autonomous electric vehicles will be the key. A massive skyscraper.
It's going to work.
Well, yeah, it,
They're going to get business very soon. If AI takes everybody's jobs and everything is automated and factories are being taken over, who's going to buy the products?
that's a good question. And therein is one of the problems of all of these um, ideas, that the theory's great, assuming you have people who can still work, will still work, or have a job to work at. So yeah, I like Stix's comment, like Sweden. Kind of, I suppose. They will have, of course, the beacon of the city, the Equitism Tower at the centre, a massive skyscraper with space for water storage, aeroponic farms, and photovoltaic route. Okay, so we need some explanations of that. How many of you have heard of aquaponics? So aquaponics, basically, you grow your crops in water. Aeroponics is a similar kind of idea, but you're talking vertical gardens that use more spray type things or mist environment, eliminating any need for soil or an aggregate medium to grow in. So they literally grow in air. It's not quite the same as hydroponics where they're in water, because they're not even in water. Does it work? Yes, it kind of does. Then photovoltaic is the conversion of light into electricity, so solar panels to us, using semiconducting materials that have that effect. So basically you've got a giant solar panel in the middle of the city that powers everything. I am going to suspect that we're going to have to move on the solar technology a fair bit to make that work. True, Stix, it's not about the product in many ways, but if you have a system of fiscal economy, it assumes that I earn in order to use it. So there would need to be some method of my earning. And if AI is doing the jobs, I won't have one.
Maybe I will buy the products from themselves.
Well, there's that, I suppose. You've definitely got that. Now, the proposed land ownership is based on the Georgist principles, as you see from Henry George in his 1879 book, Progress and Poverty, that anybody would be licensed to build, keep, or sell a home, building any other structure, and so on. And residents would share ownership of the land under community endowment. Good in theory, not very good in practice. Yeah. The idea is good in theory, let us say, and leave it at that. Now, the next one to look at is a very, very interesting one, which is the one called The Line. And it was developed as a 170 kilometer long linear city with a height of 500 meters. It's only 200 meters wide. So efficient and quick transportation along the city line. It's aimed at accommodating around 9 million people, which in a mere 170 kilometers is still a hell of a lot of people. So what if your earnings is the growth? Again, in theory, I agree with you, Sticks. The theory is good. The problem is humanity being human. So there's that. Maybe. It's definitely very different from modern urban planning, the line. The key features that make this one work is autonomous transportation systems. So you won't own any yourself. Renewable energy resources and a focus on green spaces and natural landscapes. How you fit that into something so narrow, I'm not sure. The infrastructure and services are intended to be designed in a way to minimize environmental impact and maximize energy efficiency. Now, given that this one is developed in the desert, I can see why they would choose this. An enclosed internal self-sustained place with enough greenery that the outside desert doesn't matter, yes, I can see that being a big deal for all the reasons. Yes, the line. It's basically a wall, a long wall type thing. Is it a good idea? Now, the next one is in Malaysia, and they call it the Biodiversity. And anybody that uses a name like that, I'm already thinking this is more twee than anything. But whatever. So a biodiversity, that is a city. 1,821 hectares with 3 artificial islands located off the Penang Island in Malaysia. It's actually the state government that's doing it. Great. It's made up of islands based on the idea or the concept of lily pads, designed to accommodate a population of 15,000 to 18,000 residents. Autonomous transport, again, completely eliminating the use of cars within the development. The central theme is biodiversity. All the buildings will predominantly use a combination of bamboo, timber, and concrete derived from recycled materials. Good idea. Additionally, each district within the development will be surrounded by an ecological buffer zone to foster and support the biodiversity of the area. Sounds good as well. They say that this one is very promising as an eco-friendly urban planning. Now, I can tell you right now, in a number of the cities I've seen, they are not terribly eco-friendly at all. And the problem comes in with this. Oh, there you go. You can buy goods by demanding a protection fee. Yeah, I suppose you could do that. Now, we know for a fact that if you go, for example, to certain of the cities in Japan, for example, the sheer cleanliness of those cities is phenomenal. They are absolutely amazing. But that's because of the entire culture and way that the Japanese raise their children. It really, really is. Everybody cares about the cleanliness of their city. Now, for those of us who live in South Africa, you may have noticed, if you've been to Central Joburg, that's not always the case. So would those kind of things work with all peoples everywhere? And I'm going to throw it out to you that there would have to be a serious change in social attitudes everywhere for these cities to function correctly.
It's going to be hard because even trying to teach the next generation a better culture, I mean, the parents are probably going to teach them the same culture.
Exactly so. So it would have to be a serious effort, and it would not be overnight. I think we can say that with certainty in a huge number of cities around the world. Furthermore, the other problem is what we will refer to as the consumerism issue. Now, sorry about that. There we go. One of the other things that makes Japan particularly notable is their absolute insistence on eco-friendly packaging. They avoid anything thank you for that, Endless Thoughts. I think we should all just quickly send a message in the chat to make sure that it knows we're here. We know that they have absolute minimum amounts of non-eco-friendly waste, which makes a major, major difference. So, for example, if you take New York City, their waste levels of non-eco-friendly waste are very, very high. And that's got to go somewhere. So we need to upgrade, if we're going to have sustainable type places, not just our own littering and waste management, but also our waste creation before any of these cities are going to be worthwhile. Dunno. Let's see if that works. Look at what China did with their waste. What did China do with their waste? I would like to know. Tell us. They're now buying other people's waste. Okay. So full-on recycling, that seems fair. I'm good with that as a concept. You do need it. And we do need to consider this for the future. Now, we also have another one which is, to me, fascinating, because one of the big problems that Egypt has is, unless you're on the Nile, you live in a desert. Which is a major issue if you're trying to feed your people. Their idea is to create a city that is not only a great urban society, but re-greens the desert. I like that idea. So Styx says that China is using the waste both for recycling and to produce energy from it, which, yeah, that's a brilliant idea, and we all need to embrace that. If we don't, we're going to have issues. Now, one of the problems, again, with these cities is it assumes in many ways that you are kind of first worldish. Because you go and tell everyone we're building you a smart city in Somalia, and they're going to just be like, huh? People do not live in an environment or way anywhere near anything like that because of all kinds of difficulties within the country. And until the world starts becoming uniformly first world, many countries will struggle to keep up. I think that's true to say. We have to be
Just
fair about it.
imagine Africa saying we're going to build AI.
Dear God. Yeah, that might be a problem. Nevertheless, in Egypt, this idea is really, really, really good. I like the concept. I like the idea. I think that they are definitely looking at their situation and taking things forward. It's a brilliant idea. Now, weirdly enough, did you know that the capital city of Jakarta in Indonesia, in Borneo, are wanting to copy this idea because Jakarta is sinking, it's disappearing, and they need a new city. In the decade up to, so between 2009 and 2019, Jakarta sank by 2.5 meters. Styx has a point. It sounds like a new Mad Max movie in the making. Yeah, that's pretty much where it is. So we are already encountering problems with our cities in a great many ways, and we do need to sort them. Now, Amaravati in India is the idea of a capital city for Andhra Pradesh state in India, on the banks of the river Krishna. And the focal point will be a government building with a needle at the top. 60% of the central district's area will be dedicated to green spaces and water elements. Sounds good. There's a lot of research that has gone into it, and it's going to be very, very, very tech, but also sustainable. Now, India, to be fair, is becoming very much a forward leading type group in tech. I think that they could do this. I think that they need to do this. Now, Styx raises a point. The key thing about the Venus project that made it workable was the education of the young. And this perhaps is one of the biggest issues that is coming out of all of the problems faced by all of these cities, that we will have to re-educate society, and that is obviously going to be through the young.
But
So,
under that type of society, who's going to run the propaganda?
1984. AI, apparently. It will work out what is required, what is needed, and give logical and decent advice and society. But there will be a committee. So yeah, us. We will run it to a certain degree.
Propaganda.
Well, who the us is going to be an issue.
I've looked at some AI. And yeah, they don't really know what they're talking about. They're also just spreading propaganda.
We are going to get to this problem. Do not worry, Spooky. Now, the next one, which, because now, keep in mind, people, these ideas are fantastic. They are. They are lovely. But there is a clash between reality and ideas right off bat. So the ideas in and of themselves are beautiful. And like now, this next one is an Italian idea which really we can call a smart forest city. Idea is that it should be located near Cancun in Mexico, be about 557 hectares, and basically is a biodiverse environment with 7.5 million plants and trees specifically chosen for carbon absorbing capabilities. The design is centered around sustainability, where nature and urban life coexist harmoniously. Affordable, plant-based and covered homes, making it eco-friendly and affordable for up to 130,000 residents. Now, it draws inspiration from Mayan heritage. Now, here's an interesting thing. One of the things that the Mayans did do that was really clever was they had a completely different way of producing crops that nobody else in the world uses, but which is an integration of the crops into your environment rather than big areas taken and cleared out and farmed in the way we do it in the Western world. And it did work. So maybe they're onto something here. A sustainable thing where your crops are right there, it's reasonable. I like the idea. They are now going along with the concept of a relationship between the people and the natural and sacred world. Unlike the Venus Project, which was against religion and spirituality, this incorporates it. And essentially your city will be a living organism. Now, there are good ideas to that. There are problem ideas to that. Number one problem is that roots go through everything, no matter how pretty the tree. So there is that. Number two, one of the key things about a sustainable biodiversity is keeping out predator species. And plant life can be very predatorial. And you would have a serious issue with predator species right there. In the modern world especially. Now, great for the... Okay, so what do you mean by breakers? Endless thoughts. Give us a little more on that, because I'm curious. What if everyone becomes extremely religious to occupy their time? What will the average person do? Well, if they become extremely religious, they will either, well, they will pray either on their knees or on their neighbors. How about that? Sorry, that was an awful joke. But yeah, it's an issue. We know that the orbit in Canada is growing. It's a smart city, but it's a smart business district. They're putting farming towns with cutting-edge technologies like drones, fiber optics, autonomous vehicles, and all the rest. But again, 1984, I'm a little bit worried about that. But based on agrarian existence, which is great, I'm good with that. I will say that my favorites are the floating cities. Now, Endless Thoughts raises a very good point, and that is human nature in action, that human beings have a tendency to break shit. It's true, they do. And as much as we have people that want to create amazing things, we have a lot of people that are quite happy to see the world burn. We also have the sort of people that I did an experiment at school. And what we did, we took an electric current and ran it through a system of wires. So basically, it will give you a sharp, but not dangerous, shock if you touch it. We concealed it under a piece of paper that had in bright red letters on it, danger, do not touch. 85% of people that came in and saw it immediately touched it. Which gives you an idea of the mentality of humanity. It literally said, danger, do not touch, and they poked it to see what would happen. Ah, that's human nature for you.
Yes.
Well,
I would
yes,
probably do the same.
yes, but what it also, see, on the good side, it's curiosity, it leads us to innovation, it leads us to all kinds of things. On the bad side, it shows that, yeah, you will stick your finger in the plug hole, even when you've been told what it will do to you.
Maybe if they explained it better, then I won't.
No, that is not true. By and large, a lot of people will go ahead and do it. It's human nature. And as Endless Thoughts does say, it is human nature to test things to destruction. I used to know a guy, he used to do a lot of hiking with us, and his dad traveled a lot. Now, this was back in the, nowadays you can order on the internet and shit like that. Back in the day, if you wanted something fancy, you couldn't get it unless you went and got it. And he really wanted a proper rattan hiking staff. And at huge expense, his dad bought him one. And he was so proud. And it was said to be virtually indestructible. And somebody immediately went off, stole it out of his room on the hiking trip we were on, and took a saw to it to see if it really was indestructible. And you're just like, but why? He says, no, but they said it was indestructible, and I wanted to see if it was. It wasn't. And we're like, dude, it wasn't yours. What the hell are you doing? And he said, no, I just wanted to see. I put it back. Yeah, cut up. That's human nature for you.
Yeah, no, that's just stupidity.
Well, there is always a fair selection of such people. So if you get a truly sustainable, wonderful city, you will have some bugger that will want to see what happened if I drop something into the sewage system, and will the whole city crash? We know this. If it is totally AI, you will get somebody who will drop a virus in just to see what will happen. And you know it's true.
We can't take everybody now and put them into smart cities. Because we've already taken people like out of the bush and brought them into modern world, and it doesn't work.
No, it
They're
doesn't.
still like, ooh, fire, let's burn the house down.
I have a friend that was moved into one of the brand new housing for student at one of the universities. Now we're talking about people that were in the block that were studying like massively intelligent things, you know, doctors and such, okay? So the kind of student that goes in is not your oik. They're the really clever ones. And the first day in their new residence, they had to be moved out to the old and crappy places because it got a bit cold. And because these trainee doctors couldn't figure out how to use a stove, they just lit a fire on top of it and burnt the house down.
Yeah.
These are the intelligent ones, you know. So, yeah, we're going to have a problem if we try, you know. Smart cities, They will work when they work very, very well, and when they don't, they will crash.
I don't think people should relax. I mean, a system like that, it sounds like people aren't going to do much. And what are people going to do? They're just going to sit at
Well,
home.
that is a fair question. Now, the next one is in the Maldives. Now, for those of you who do not know about the Maldives, the big problem that the Maldives has is it's very much an island type area. They are very low lying. So any rising sea levels, any serious storms, you've got problems on land. So they have a challenge with that, and they want to create something that is a floating city that if the sea levels rise, it will just rise with it and therefore won't be a problem. Now, near the capital is a suitable lagoon which has a certain number of protective type islets around, which could be artificially increased if need be. But the buildings are all floating inside it. It's supposed to house 20,000 people. They reckon that the floating city is probably one of the world's first to actually be built. It has 5,000 low-rise floating homes built on a series of hexagonal structures that are flexible and will rise with the sea level so that it remains resistant no matter what happens to that kind of thing. How about becoming the machines? I do not want to be a machine. I'm sorry, Endless Thoughts. I do not want to be a machine. But I suppose you have that aspect. You could become an AI. We'll upload your consciousness. But I do not want that. Thank you very much. Now, this idea is also the same idea behind oceanics, which they are also developing in the Maldives, which is pretty cool. Intended for use off Busan in South Korea. Sustainable, adaptable, extra space that you otherwise would never have, able to manage climate change, and possibly sort out all of the issues that you would otherwise have. Now, here's the truth. What is it? Well, would it be the solution for humans to have for existence? How about having less babies and actually living within our means, managing our environment, but also managing ourselves, instead of being massively, essentially cannibalistic of our own planet, to be fair. So, yeah, I don't think becoming AI is the solution. I really, really don't. Is AI managing us a solution? It may happen whether you like it or not. Again, I go back to the old Ghost in the Machine issue. Really, you need to watch that. So, there are a lot of problems. You can either go and build cities in places where otherwise you can't, like on the ocean, or you can build up, which brings us to some very interesting ideas of what I suppose you would call upwardly developing cities. The idea of creating towers that are eco-friendly towers. Would such a thing even work? Yes, it can. Having sort of balconies, well, yes, 0184 has absolutely got a point. AI is managing things to quite a fair degree. That is true, and I think it's an awful thing, to be honest. I do not approve of how it does, but it does. But in terms of upward cities with balconies of plants and roofs of plants and solar and everything, yes, I think that it would work. The one in Saudi Arabia would be an absolutely amazing idea, because incorporating both the greenery and the water would result in what I would imagine would assist in the regreening of the desert. Absolutely. The Malaysian biodiversity is a lovely idea, and also includes the upwardly mobile type green towers. The problem, again, is roots. The Dutch are doing that now. What would be the reason to? Well, I'd like to think that family and loved ones and such things are very, very, very good reasons to live, to be honest. And feeling hopeless is a very bad thing, because there is a great deal more to live for than people like to think. And partly the problem of that is the very Western view of things, which is pretty shitty. Now, Styx points out the whole of Rotterdam is like that now. And yes, it is. And I think that's a key point, because that is the way to go. We need to manage ourselves, and we need to manage our environment better. And I think that that is something that is very, very good. It does improve things, and it might actually, in part at least, be a solution against global warming. Think about that, because you're increasing your biodiversity and oxygen and all the rest, which might be good. Climate neutrality, it's an important thing. The idea of creating an open city with, and now here's where it does get interesting. The one in Helsinki is known as the Smart Region, where better urban living for citizens, eco-friendly solutions, promoting industrial technology by exploring smart strategies, including climate neutrality, AI, and smart mobility, with the idea of open data, where collaboration and innovation will work to improve everything. So you make most of your time by development, which is very much the original Venus idea, and a good one. Well, I suppose one hopes that medicine will also develop, and one will reduce the number of special needs people, and therefore will make it possible for people to live, even if they do have certain special needs, without it being a problem to their living. We know there are ways around quite a lot of the issues, so sure, it is possible. Is it probable? Yeah. Now, in Seoul, in South Korea, you have the city that they say is integrated with the metaverse. It is the smartest city so far. Is it? Maybe. Their idea is to create a city where smart transportation is cutting edge technology, free mobile chargers, air quality improvement devices, unlimited Wi-Fi service, does sound pretty damn good, contactless services with delivery robots, hotel rooms, AI-guided speakers. Now, I do know that there are places where you get this. You go to a hotel, you'll be greeted by a robot who will take you to your room and all the rest of it, and even collects his own tip. And this is for everybody, not just for rich people. So absolutely, AI-guided speakers, green initiates, waterways, eco-friendly public spaces, eco-friendly buildings. The Seoul Sky Garden is mixed into that, and the Seolo 7017 pedestrian overpass that showcases the commitment to green spaces. To be fair, they're doing a hell of a lot. Will it work? Again, look, discipline, cleanliness, you need a certain level of education and more, and without it, there are going to be issues. So, possible? Yes. Now, I can tell you, there you go. Endersource does make a point. I was welcoming people at the hotel, now a robot has taken the job. Yes, fact. This is a problem. So AI and robots are taking jobs. That is a serious issue. And I can tell you for myself, one of the reasons I'm struggling so hard to get a job is because most of what I used to do, people say AI can do. I can tell the difference, but sadly education in the modern world is so crappy, most people can't. There is a dumbing down to the world, and it is not a good thing. So, throwing it out there, make of it as you will. Now, traffic congestion we know is a major issue that people are trying to fix, simply because I mean, you can spend 2 hours getting to work every morning and 2 hours getting home in the afternoon. 4 hours of your day lost to what is essentially an unproductive time. It seriously is a problem. And we do need to realize it's getting worse, which means we do need to deal with such things. Now, that said, there are some beautiful ideas. I think without a doubt, it's an amazing concept. There are some incredibly good things that could come out of this. However, let's talk about the problems. First of all, it assumes that you are able to fit within the socio-dynamic. You're not going to litter. You're not going to mess with things. You're not going to drop a virus into the AI to see what will happen. All of that.
Overall, you have to be a decent person and have to assimilate with the new culture.
Yes. You have to be encultured into that kind of thing. Now, your problem will come is if I say, oh, Endless Thoughts, you are the perfect person to come and join my city. But Spooky, sorry, you aren't. Eventually, you're going to get enough people that weren't allowed looking and going, hey, but Endless Thoughts is having such a fantastic life and we're not. That's not fair. So if we can't have it, nor can she. And they will break things. And you will absolutely need some kind of safety and security methods to defend things. We know that the theory is great, but the practice is often problematic. How much security and what kind of security, and sooner or later some woke bugger will say, your having that security is infringing on my rights, it's not allowed. And then we'll have legal things, because human beings, as Endless Thoughts has very correctly pointed out, love to test things to destruction. I know somebody that spent the last 40 years collecting computer viruses. He's got one disk where he puts them all. And he says one day, when he's old and feeling bloody-minded, he's going to plug the disk into a computer that's connected to the internet. He has around about 60,000 computer viruses. Now, as he works in the security industry for IT, he's got a lot, and some of them are awful, and God knows what they've done all in together. Now, would he really do it? I don't know. But the mere fact that he made the disk, my God, can you imagine 60,000 viruses dropped in all at once? I don't know. It seems a bit worrying. Right there.
It depends on what virus it is. Because that one virus could probably destroy all the other viruses.
It could be, or they could breed together. Can you imagine breeding viruses?
That's not how it works.
At the
Viruses
moment.
are programs written by people.
And if AI reads them all and starts creating more?
Or would it be able to spread it? Or send you the virus, the piece of software that's going to destroy your computer?
Theoretically, absolutely. I mean, we've been talking a lot about intelligent AI, right?
Well, they do have AI to fight against viruses, but they also have AI to help create viruses.
Right.
Yeah.
And as Styx points out, it sounds like Fight Club. Yep. Fight Club. Online Fight Club. Now, what are the problems? Well, resource efficiency is the first issue that would have to be dealt with. Having enough food and water and being able to create enough food and water is critical. Having backup systems, because if your water system fails, you've got a serious issue. If your waste system fails, you've got a serious issue, especially if you don't have outside input. Renewable energy, yeah, that's the big thing. Because by and large, you've got to be able to keep providing your energy, and any kind of fossil fuels require stuff being brought in. You cannot have anything that requires bringing in. So you're going to have to go to wind, wave, solar, all of that, and it must be enough. Okay, so it must have a net zero requirement. Can we do that? Sure, probably. Will people do that? It's questionable, I suppose. Number 3, waste management. The problem is, no matter how wonderful you are, you create waste. You do. We know this. It might be minimal, but you do. It's got to go somewhere. We need a self-sustaining way to manage it without sending it out of the city, because that destroys the point of a smart city. It must be dealt with within and repurposed somehow.
Send it to the sun.
Yeah, but there again, it's ascending too. And you need a city that doesn't require more input of materials. Recycling is absolutely the only solution for a smart city. As long as you need anything from outside, you've screwed up.
It sounds costly
Ah.
and dangerous.
Ah, yes, that is true. And then you need climate resilience. Now, they are working on this, of course, absolutely. But you must be able to manage no matter what the climate throws at you and come back. Natural disasters. So if you're in Japan, if you don't have buildings that are earthquake proof, you're screwed. It's a known thing. And their engineers are incredible at creating very earthquake resistant buildings, better than anywhere in the world. Even they will have to do better. We will not only have to deal with natural disasters and climate shocks, we will need to deal with nature-based issues, root systems and how deep they go, absorbent gardens that will reabsorb energies and nutrients and things to keep reproducing. Soil gets tired. It does. You need to deal with that somehow. Now, there would be problems with economic growth and trade. Initially, it might build on this. But sooner or later, the better you build on it, the more AI you have, the less you will grow. Because we don't need you anymore. Problem. Which means innovation is going to be absolutely critical. And if AI outstrips human innovation, again, we are screwed.
AI is mankind's last invention.
That is a fair statement in many ways, and a worrying one. Endless Thought says, yes, absolutely, Sticks, you are right as well. Endless Thoughts, you are right as well. Is a very good response. USA is struggling with tired soil, and so are many places around the world. It is a difficult thing. We do need better infrastructure and all of that, and better efficiency, and
AI will get smarter and will be able to be a very good engineer. And if you want a good bridge, you can ask AI to design the bridge.
And it would have taken our job, and we can't buy the fridge that's perfect.
Yeah.
There's the problem. We would need to have inclusive design, so even the elderly and disabled can manage to live and work among it. Or maybe we need to allow a little bit of Darwinism in order to reduce populations, throwing it out there. They say you need citizen engagement, but how much engagement will you have when AI does it all for you? They say you will need to deal with inequality. I do not believe.
Inequality cannot be achieved. It's impossible.
Human nature is such that there will always be inequality. What I think is achievable is a way of making it that the lowest common denominator, the poorest of a society, at least has enough to live sustainably. But there will always be richer and poorer, no matter what you do. We've proved that time and again. Even in hardcore communism, the equal everybody has found, like an animal farm, some are more equal than others, because that is
It's
the
like
bottom
picking
line.
apples. The one guy was born taller, and that's why he's got more apples.
And humanity is like that. That's how we are. So, yeah. What is the hive mind idea with AI, or even more probable adaptus mechanicus?
To make sure that people don't kill each other, we're probably going to have to.
Well, the problem is, sooner or later, either AI is going to manage us, or we're going to, as a result thereof, destroy the entirety of AI to protect ourselves and go back to hitting each other with sticks.
Yes.
That's kind of where we
We're
are.
going to destroy ourselves at the end of the day anyway. So
Yes.
either we can try and get AI to protect us and look after us, or we're going to kill AI and then kill ourselves afterwards.
Pretty much. So the benefits and the drive to do this are exactly the very problems with it. Sustainability and efficiency, absolutely, but is a problem. Huge thanks to Endless Thoughts. We've achieved our live goal again due to one person. 11 people watching, and it's all one person yet again. An amazing, amazing person, but come on, guys. I mean, are we leaving all of it to one person every time to support the channel? Seems so. So huge thanks to Endless Thoughts. But guys, one little bit of support. The channel is for you, but nevertheless. The second thing, improved quality of life. Well, we go back to something that you pointed out a couple of lives ago, Spooky. Hard times produce hard people. Hard people produce good times. Good times produce soft people. Soft people produce hard times.
Yeah.
So, do we need an improved quality of life? To a certain degree, yes. But do we need an easy quality of life? No. We don't. Economic growth and innovation, well, yes, we do need it. Especially so that we stimulate innovation, attract business, create new jobs, and boost local economies. What we don't need is to have so much innovation that AI takes over everything. Right there. Is the solution, as Endless Thoughts says, that become integrated with AI so that we are the AI and no longer need a lot of the things that we have to survive because we are ultimately a computer? Is that an option? I don't know.
Well, it will help with certain things
And not with
something
others.
down. In the far future, generations after now, and people have become so used to robots servicing robots and taking care of everything. And what will happen when all those robots suddenly stop working?
Well, here is a perfect answer to that was brought up the other day. Now, I know that as South Africans, we have the answer, thank you to Eskom. But Imagine just for a moment, I take away all electricity. How will your life change? Suddenly it's gone. Today, right now, it's gone. It will be pretty devastating, and a lot of people will not manage. And we know that for fact. There are major issues, many of which aren't actually, Stix says he can. We know this because we've dealt with it, thanks to Eskom. And yes, we can still braai. But I will add to that, you need to get the wood and this and that, and there'll be a huge sudden demand. We also know...
We can braai now, yes, but generations from now, they forgot where the food came from.
Correct.
The robots just bought the food.
Correct. And the other side of that issue is the psychological crash as well. We saw during COVID, where suddenly you weren't allowed to get outside, how many people quite literally committed suicide because they couldn't take it. It's an issue. Modern humans are terribly fragile. I'm just throwing it out there. Now, the next issue, and this is the major challenges, cost and finances. If I go and build that massive, incredible city, why the hell should I let your poor ass inside? I don't need you. AI does the work. You can starve. And therein lies the problem. Social inequality. It is an issue. So cost and financing's hard at the beginning, and it leads to your second point of social inequality and privacy. If I have a house run entirely by AI, somebody that's running those AI can watch every last little thing you do or say. And we see that turning up at the moment in England, where they're arresting people for private comments on WhatsApp and jailing them. It's happening now.
TikTok is listening. Continuous WhatsApp.
100%. Now, along with that, they talk about the lack of soul and organic growth. This is a true thing. Overly planned places are quite sterile, and we feel it. As much as people say you should be scientific, we do need that soul. And without it, it does affect our psychology. It's a problem. The other problem that they say is a major problem is exactly the one we've all agreed on. Technological dependence. And if it ever then fails, we would literally be wrecked. So, we need a sewage system that works, or you can't use your bathroom. We need a way to cook our food, or else we have issues. Stix is off. Cheers, have a fantastic evening. See you tomorrow. Yes, absolutely, and I hope you have an awesome one. So 100%. We're actually virtually at the end of this. So now we know that we've gone through a whole ton of real world examples, but it seems that while there is a lot of good, there's a lot of bad. Now, where would AI fit in? Now, AI cities involve seamless data-driven urban management. Sounds so good, doesn't it? Where AI optimizes everything from traffic and energy to public safety, waste, creating responsive, sustainable and efficient environments using digital twins and real-time insights to anticipate needs and improve quality of life. making services more human-centric and accessible. AI will become a core utility, managing complex systems like integrated transport, personalized healthcare, resource allocation, moving cities forwards and towards self-learning, resilient and equitable models. Now that sounds amazing, and that was very scarily the AI overview. Now, where would we put AI? Well, urban mobility, managing the transport systems and all the rest of it, which, as we know in our amazing country, the traffic lights work fantastic right up until they don't. It's an issue. Resource management and sustainability works fantastically until it doesn't. We know that our wonderful government has an amazing ability to not repair things, not sort stuff out, and no, you have the right to have it, and you must pay your fees for it. We're just not giving it you because we ran out. It's a reality. Public safety. Who decides what makes things safe? I'm sorry, we've decided that you have spoken the wrong thing, so we're going to arrest you and jail you because we heard you mention to somebody on the street corner yesterday something that we don't agree with. Eh? It all depends on who's doing the watching, doesn't it? We see that right now happening in the UK. Infrastructure and resilience, having digital twin AI-powered models for climate risks, enhancing resilience and all the rest, great to a certain degree. Yes, so your cities must be proactive and predictive. What if they decide that the problem that we will see in the next 5 years is too many citizens? We shall therefore reduce you by half for your own good. Just saying. Governance. Data-driven urban planning. Sorry. Moral governments might work, but data-driven? They will find a way to hack the system, and it will go to hell. We know this. Human-centric. Who decides what is human? We know that certain groups say that you will do it our way or not at all. We've decided you, Endless Thoughts, are not human enough, and therefore you must be removed from society because you haven't done X, Y, or Z, or you did do X, Y, or Z. Who decides what's human?
A funny story.
Yes.
One guy was beaten up and then went to jail.
Okay.
Because of hate speech.
Okay.
It was a call to violence for what he did. So, if you see a bunch of girls and you greet them, normally a normal person would just say, "Hi guys," and it's absolutely fine. You can greet a bunch of women like that. Just say, "Hi guys."
Yes.
This guy went and he said, "Hi guys," to a bunch of transgenders.
Oh God. So jailed because he wasn't woke enough. Now,
apparently it was offensive and he was misgendering them.
Well, I can tell you in my own experience when I first went to school in England. Okay, so my parents decided to go to England and we lived there for 1 year. I went to school there. And the first day at school, somebody told somebody that I was a South African. They decided, not even having spoken to me, or knowing anything, that I was therefore, because I was a white South African, I was massively racist, and for the good of all the black people in South Africa, bearing in mind I was 9 years old, okay, just throwing it out there, that I needed to be taught a lesson. And 6 of them turned up and beat the snot out of me. I didn't even know why they were actually beating me at the time of the beating. It just happened. At this point, a Pakistani and 2 Cockneys, who, if you know anything about English society, they're the scum guys, stepped up and defended me, chased them off and helped me out. The very people who supposedly I am hateful to, there, were the ones that actually helped me. I only found out a few days later why they had beaten me up. So people will do things, yeah. And I mean, that's so typical worldwide.
That was how they were indoctrinated.
Correct, which is why I have serious fears for this kind of thing. And the world needs to wake the f up. I'm just saying. Now, challenges. Both security and data privacy would require both the protection of the citizen and the protection of the city to have serious cybersecurity, which could be taken too far, as we have seen. The cameras that were put up around London were done so that the people could be protected. It is now being used to attack the people by the government. Equity and accessibility is required. There is no such thing as human equity ever. We know that. Humans are like that. Governments and ethics, we need proper frameworks for AI decisions and how to make it work. Well, I don't know how they would do that. I just have nothing. AI is not ethical because it doesn't have ethics. It's not how it works. Unless we can somehow create human AI, we are pretty screwed. How will this help us? It's supposed to make things better. Everything that would make us better in an ideal situation also seems to be a problem. You have to pay for all of your online time, which would be absolutely massive, and you're not needed to do the job, so how would you do it? I have serious worries about this. The theory is good. The actuality is a serious failure, in my opinion, at least with humanity as it stands right now. Maybe in the future, I hope, but I don't know. What do you think? Endless thoughts? Do you think it's viable with humanity being humanity? Yes or no? Go.
Humans are different. I mean, I don't know what Endless Thoughts would say, but what if the woman gets attacked because she's not wearing a tabab?
Right? Now, so there was a particular female in the UK who was describing her attack and rape by somebody because of who was one of these problem peoples and she described it in a private chat with her best friend. Obviously she's just been raped. She's very distraught, etc., etc. She was arrested for hate speech. She was.
Yeah.
Not the guy that did it. They know who he is. She was.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
That's how it works.
We are already at war in this world, and we do not even know it. And by and large, the West is falling.
Yeah.
Which makes me very
I had
glad
a
to
really
live in.
sad story.
Yeah.
A sad, disgusting story today in Netherlands. It was Muslims that immigrated to the Netherlands, and they found the woman's body in a river. She as well wasn't a Muslim. She brought shame to her family for wanting to assimilate with the culture. She wanted to marry a white man. She didn't want her to wear the tapaba anymore. And her
Right?
father said she brought shame to the family, and he ordered his two sons to go and end her.
Yes.
So they strapped her and threw her into the river.
There you go. So clearly we have issues, and I'm very glad to be in South Africa where we are actually better off than the rest of the world by a huge way. So I have hope for us, but I don't have hope for them. Throwing it out there. But with that said,
The two boys, they got jailed 25 years each. The father, he's nowhere to be found. He left the country.
there you go. And now jailed, meaning somebody's looking after them.
Yeah.
Great. You're paying for it.
But since their current direction and stuff, those guys will probably be out in no time.
Yeah, absolutely. Back on the street. No, I'm sorry. We have issues. Those issues must be addressed. And until all such things are addressed, smart cities are an impossibility. They will never happen.
Maybe small communities it will work. It's
Absolutely. But seriously,
But expecting the whole world to suddenly adopt that way of living is impossible.
yeah, it won't work. What we need are cities that are eco-sustainable and labor intensive before we want smart cities. That might be a way forward. But we're not ready for smart cities, not in the slightest.
Yeah.
But eco, sure, 100%. And weirdly enough, if you look at a huge portion of South African cities, they are. If you do this as an exercise, okay? Do this as an exercise. Go onto Google Earth and go and take a look at New York, London, and Johannesburg and Pretoria, and compare the amount of green in each. It's actually amazing. Throwing it out there. I did that as an experiment, and I can tell you, you would be amazed. Well worth doing. But with that said, we are at the 2-hour mark. Thank you so much for being a part of this live. In the next one, we are going to look at something different. I haven't quite decided what it's going to be yet, but if you have ideas, send them in. I will add them to my list of stuff to cover, and we certainly will have a go at it. We prefer the spooky stuff because, after all, it's the weird and the wonderful with Strange Bones. But absolutely, come back, enjoy, and hopefully we will keep growing as a channel. It's been awesome to have you here. Thank you to Spooky and to Endless Thoughts for being on. Thank you to Styx. Shout out to, go and follow them. They deserve it. Endless Thoughts has some very heartwarming and wonderful upbeat messages on hers, which always make your day. Also go and check out Styx, as I say. And Spooky is a great guy, so follow him because why not? And with that said, thank you again, and sleep deep, sleep sweet, and sleep with one eye open in case while you're asleep, the AI takes over. But until then, be good.
Oh, cheers. Enjoy your
Cheers,
night.
cheers.